Hello and welcome to the final episode of PlayStation ReHash Final Fantasy VII Remake. That's a title. I am joined by Tim and Garri. Hello, guys.
Who's Tim and Garri?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that one person?
It is.
Some chodes.
Tim Garri and Garri Tim are both here.
Ooh. It's a fusion dance.
It is a fusion dance.
Oh my god, what would we be called if we fused?
Terry.
I like
Gin?
this.
Gim.
I think just Garri would be fine.
Gim? Just Garri. Bye, Tim.
I just overtake you, man.
Hot.
Oh, man. But yeah, we are in the final episode. We all have completed Final Fantasy VII Remake. We're here to spoil everything for you. So if you haven't beat this game or care about spoilers in any way, do not watch it. Leave, beat the game,
Like
and come
Mark.
back.
Mark doesn't care about spoilers.
I don't care about them. But I am in love with the end of this game. So we're going to
Gross.
regurgitate all of the things that we like about the game, all the things we didn't like about the game, things that we liked that changed, things that we maybe didn't know that changed, because as we talked in previous episodes, I've never beat the original Final Fantasy VII. I feel like I got past this part in Final Fantasy VII normal because I got all the way to the gun on the water, if not past that. Because I remember that's like the first time you meet like a giant monster.
Yep, that's definitely outside of Midgar.
Yeah, and I don't remember literally anything that happened at the end of this game. So it must either all be new.
Not even the fight with Shinra Jr. and his pupper?
No, I don't remember that at all.
Dude, what the hell?
Yeah, dude. But yeah, so we are going to start discussion. We almost started a discussion before we hit record, but we killed it.
This is what I do. I blame myself for that. I always do that.
It started.
Garri was getting all upset because we're like, hey, we liked it, and Gary's like, nope.
I literally told you there's a love scene with Barrett, and you...
See, that's all I need.
So, I guess the first question I have for both of you, because on the internet, when this game came out, there was a lot of discussion that I saw from other sites and also from other people in the industry, and even just people on my Twitter feed that I know personally, talking about not understanding the end.
Don't.
And I don't know if it's me being a Nomura fan or me being a Crisis Core fan or me being the only thing that I was confused about was Sephiroth himself.
Everything about you was wrong.
Where he, because it's not Sephiroth, right? It's a one of the numbered guys with not mimicking him, but kind of doing what happened in Advent Children, where
With
like
Kadash?
That's similar to what's happening, right? Like it is Sephiroth, but it's not Sephiroth. It's like a person becoming Sephiroth.
They kind of do that where it shows him, like, especially in the beginning of the game, where he looks like one of the guys is attacking him back in I think chapter 3 when you're in the slums.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a possibility, and obviously we see that one of them also creates the illusion of being Genova when you fight that boss in Shiver Tower as well.
Yeah, and then the Sephiroth that takes Genova and jumps off the edge with Genova's body is... Oh, by the way, you guys can't see, I'm playing the scene. I lost my damn mind when they showed Zack. Like, I was
Did you pull your pants?
I
Brought them
was
back?
so excited because you've been seeing like Cloud-esque, like every time I saw like a glove or a boot or something, I was like, oh, it's Zack, and then it ended up being Cloud. And this is the first time it was Zack, and I am like, ugh.
Teased you, man. They teased you the whole way.
Yeah, they did. Also,
They
Tim,
gave
you
me the
lied to
Zack.
me. That's not the same voice for Zack.
I was satisfied.
So quickly here, I hate to do this, but I'm not getting the stream from you.
Oh no. It I'm not streaming it. So
Oh, okay.
because we all beat
That,
it.
that's what I assumed.
Yeah.
You just said you're at the scene. That's why I was like, what?
Yeah, that way the video that lines up with what we're talking about is at the end of the game.
Okay, yeah. When I saw Zack 2, I was like, oh my god, finally, because they talked about how they're going to have more Zack in the remake, and throughout the entire game, I'm like, I'm not seeing no Zack. You're a liar.
Yeah, same.
Give me Zack.
And like whenever I saw him, oh I'm like, yes.
It sounded like him from Crisis Core as well. Do you know if it was the same voice actor?
It's not. It's definitely not.
Okay.
Because I was thrown off by the voice whenever I heard it. Fun fact, the voice actor for Zack, I've only ever known him in one other role. And this is going to be a very weird poll. It's the police officer in the first Transformers movie that arrests Sam and thinks that Mojo's, Sam Witwicky's dog's named Mojo, thinks the medication is a drug on the street. He's like, Mojo. Is that what the kids are doing these days? Like,
that is where you recognize that you must have really paid attention to that movie.
Well, whenever I first heard him, I'm like, I know this voice. And then I looked it up on IMDb. I was like, it's Zack. That's who this is.
So that random police officer in Transformers imprinted on you so deeply.
That psychologically might be why I love Transformers so much. That movie.
It's just vicariously Zack. I need Zack.
That's fantastic, man.
But going back to our before I made us tangent, we were talking about Sephiroth and if this is actually Sephiroth or not. Do you guys think that it's actually Sephiroth?
Go ahead, Tim. I'll let you go first.
Oh, you're waiting to set me up, aren't you?
I can go first if you want. That's fine.
I figured that was how you like to do it.
Oh my god, fine. I'll go. My whole thing about it, of this actually being Sephiroth or not, is very interesting because I recently went through and replayed the game on hard mode. And I noticed a lot of stuff that I didn't really pick up on originally. Now that I finished it, I went back and I'm like, okay, a lot of this stuff is starting to make sense. And one of those things is Sephiroth. So to me, I believe it is Sephiroth. But it's hard for me to say which Sephiroth it is. I believe the Sephiroth that we saw in this game is a Sephiroth essentially from the future.
Right.
And he knows the past. Yes, and we kind of get hints of that. One of the biggest hints was when you first encounter Aerith, where he taps her on the shoulder as he appears to Cloud and says, "You can't save anyone," which is a big hint of the story that was supposed to unfold. So I believe it is Sephiroth. I believe it's a Sephiroth probably before Advent Children. And there's my phone. I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay, so Sephiroth before.
I'm asking you
before
to help
Advent.
me.
Okay,
I
so
know that together we can do this.
that Sephiroth after original Final Fantasy
if we
VII,
do,
before Advent Children, you think it's like a Sephiroth in between that, or you think like
Maybe changing
before
the
the
world
end of
by
Final
itself.
Fantasy VII, original, he decided to go back in time and set up
we'll be changing ourselves.
like a contingency.
Well, it can't be from the original
Yes.
because they've already
Maybe.
stated that
That's why
the
I
original
hesitate.
and the remake are separate stories.
Yeah.
Like separate, not like just separate stories, but separate universes. Like they're not crossing paths at all.
Okay,
So I don't think it's that. I would say it's
You
more
said it
like
yourself.
he's coming back from
He has to be stopped.
the future of Remake.
And frankly, I've heard enough.
Oh, so
Sorry about that.
at the end of Remake, you think it's gonna be one of those things where he goes, like he decides that he needs to go back in time?
Thank you, Cloud.
by Sephiroth.
Or don't
Yeah,
answer
so-
the question.
Yeah, Tim just stopped up.
Yep.
Yes, I think it is pre-Advent Children. I think it's the same kind of situation where he exists how he existed in Advent Children, which I never quite fully understood. But he's there. Like, he just exists in... Because at the end, he tells you where you are. I believe it's like some... I don't remember what he called it.
The edge of creation.
The edge of creation, yeah. So he's kind of just there. Like, he's dead, but his, I guess, essence or soul lives on because he's an ancient. And the way I understood it, ancients kind of just never die.
Is he an ancient? I thought he was born from the cells of Genova.
Well, he says he's an ancient in this one, in this game. Remember?
I must have missed that part. I thought that he was always regarded like
Yeah. Yeah, there's even a scene where he's like, it's like a flashback scene that Cloud has, like one of his mental situations where he sees Sephiroth, and Sephiroth says that I'm an ancient in that scene.
I don't know if that's necessarily true. That could be him just being hubristic, like putting a lot of faith in himself, saying, "Well, I'm this, I'm that," because he's very much a pompous dickhead. So
Dickhead. Nice, dude.
So like, I mean, he could be an ancient. That would be an interesting twist to the remake. But I also think there's a good possibility that he's not. It's just him, like, refusing to die because he's that big of a dick.
So he just surviving through sheer will of not wanting to die?
Something like that. Like, hanging on. I don't know if, like, the technicalities of it. Maybe he's, like, hanging on to the live stream and fighting against it, like, I don't know. Who knows? It's Sephiroth.
Over there.
Yeah, I mean,
It's Final Fantasy.
there's obviously a lot of theories going around. One of the big ones that I'm seeing is he's from an alternate timeline.
That's what my theory and what's happening is because Nomura does literally insane shit all the time from Kingdom Hearts on and stuff, but what I assume is what's happening is the game Final Fantasy VII original is the timeline. This is how it goes, this is what happens, here's Crisis Core, here are all the events and how they happen, and every time you play it, it's fate. You, the player, are fate, making sure that the events happen in the same way. And then basically what happens in the world is the life stream, where everything is born from the life stream, and whenever everything dies, it goes back to the life stream. So basically, they live in a consistent loop, not a long loop, but basically, whenever the universe ends, it repeats itself because of the life stream. Everything goes back in, it gets reborn. So basically, what I was thinking was this, whenever it starts, is you playing Final Fantasy original and doing the events as normal, but Sephiroth has entered your timeline from another timeline.
Wow.
And then is essentially trying to alter the events of the original game to fit his desire, which is why the Whispers come in to try to fix everything. And basically you, the player, are fate, trying to keep the timeline as... trying to keep Cloud and his group of friends winning each time. Which the world has done. If everybody is fate, the world has done countless times with Final Fantasy VII being on every system. Every time somebody plays Final Fantasy VII, that's fate making sure that the events happen the way they're supposed to happen.
I agree with you to a certain extent with that, but I don't think it's Sephiroth that starts it. I actually think it's Aerith who does it. Because I think Aerith in this game, she, in my opinion, from all the scenes that I saw, she knows everything that's going on.
Oh yeah, she definitely knows.
And she pretends like she doesn't. Essentially, she's bullshitting everybody. And we see that in the first scene, because in the first scene that Cloud encounters Aerith in Remake was a scene in the original game where she literally says hi to him, gives him a flower, and leaves. In this game, when he encounters her, she's obviously fighting off the Whisperers because she has already planned to stop Cloud and change fate and talk to him essentially longer than she's supposed to. Which she does.
That's why the Whispers intervene.
Yes, because it's changing fate, and essentially she touches him, knowing exactly what's going to happen. When she touched him, all of a sudden he had a flashback, or a scene of the future, I guess you can say. And then all of a sudden he can see the Whisperers. So I think it's all Aerith, and I think Aerith, in my opinion, essentially sets things in motion that brings Sephiroth into this timeline, if it is an alternate timeline. Because I think she, through the live stream, sees the future, and she knows what's going to happen. She knows Zag died. She knows a lot of stuff that's going to happen in the future, the big meteor, and Sephiroth is going to try to destroy the Earth and stuff.
We can beat them.
Do you think that's what she's trying to do, is bring Zack back, or is there like a
I think she's trying to save everybody. I don't think it's necessary about bringing Zag back. I think she wants to alter the world so that everybody, I guess you can say, is happy, because a lot of characters have kind of a lot of tragic moments in 7. Red 13 obviously is one of them. If you go further on into the storyline of Final Fantasy 7, and obviously the situation with Sephiroth as well, and what that leads to, even past Final Fantasy 7 into Advent Children as well. Maybe she's also trying to save Sephiroth in a way as well, from the direction he goes. But I firmly believe that she is trying to alter fate.
So do you think that's why the Whispers don't necessarily get in Sephiroth's way, because he's not part of this universe, so they can't really see him?
I think when it comes to Sephiroth, because they're constantly, like, especially towards the end of the game, obviously Cloud is trying to kill him, and that's when they obviously intervene, because that's not when he's supposed to face Sephiroth.
Right.
It's also why they save Barret, because Sephiroth also killed him. I think in a way Sephiroth is also testing to see what he can change himself when it comes to fate. And I think he kind of eggs them on to go into this alternate space-time reality that they go into at the end of the game. And once they defeat the fate, once they break those bonds, he tries to kill them right there, because he also knows this future. So why not try to kill them before they become strong enough? I think it's also why he tries to get Cloud to join him so much, because he knows that Cloud puts an end to him in 7. So that's my theory, at least, when it comes to Sephiroth, because we also see that he kind of absorbs the fate as well. When they finally defeat it, he absorbs all the Whisperers right before he appears to fight.
Yeah.
Damn it!
We gotta get out of here now.
I'm really excited about that case.
Which part?
You sound really quiet now.
Yeah.
It's your fault.
It is my
I don't know
fault.
how. My fault. I don't know. Just the whole thing. I had this theory that Sephiroth was going back to change things and like affecting it, and then there was this like conflicting interest between everybody, where everyone is basically trying to stop fate so they can control what's going on. So then you have fate in this first game being basically being the enemy, and then in the next couple of games it's going to be like, okay, well, now that we did that thing, we have to deal with the consequences, which would be Sephiroth being able to do one of the shitty ones. That's a big one.
Because now you also have to realize, like, if they change fate and Sephiroth is, say, from the future, or he knows what's going to happen, he can also avoid all the instances that put him in trouble as well.
It's true. Unless
He can
doesn't
really
know
mess with
those,
shit
like,
now.
unless he's like, and this is where I think that he's not necessarily an ancient, or he doesn't have the same capacity as Aerith does. Just because she seems to have a very like, she seems aloof in some parts and then driven in others. So I think she really, really knows the details of what's coming, what's important, what's fine, and things like that. And then Sephiroth just falls to the wall the whole time. So I think maybe he has some influence, but not the kind of like third eye that Aerith has.
He's reacting, not
Did we do it?
planning. He's like, okay, this is
Yeah.
what's happening now. This is what I'm going to do versus like what's
Yeah.
going. Like I'm going to do this so this happens. Also, I love whenever they all get hit with the memories and you see the opening scene of the children with Red 13 running with his children.
What the hell
You know,
did I
Gary,
just see?
that part right there, that very part, goes along with what you were saying about
A glimpse of
the
tomorrow
alternate timeline.
failed here.
Because he said, like, what was that? It's like, that's where things will go if we fail today.
Yeah.
So that goes along really well with the theory.
But that
And
is where
obviously-
things went, isn't it?
Gary's a truth seer.
And obviously the big one is Zack. Because we know in Crisis Core, Zack can't get to Midgard because dozens of soldiers and millions of soldiers are there to stop him.
These things.
And he's obviously with Cloud. But this time we see that he can't get back because the Whisperers won't let him back into Midgard. We see them in the distance. So obviously we're seeing it as, like you guys said, we're Fate, and we're seeing Fate not letting him in. But obviously once Fate is defeated, all of a sudden Zack is able to get back in.
So do you think?
And that's a big change.
So we make it back from where we're at in the video. So that you guys are on the screen. I am fighting the Fates right now. I'm fighting the Whispers. Now, do
This
we
part
come?
reminded me of 13 too.
Oh, this part 100% reminded me of Kingdom Hearts. Like the monster
Never
is
mind,
totally.
I'm with you on 13 too, where you fight the three Bahamets.
Yeah.
That part was awesome.
Oh.
But
Yeah.
do they make it back, or are they? Whenever they defeat the Fates, are they in this Midgard now?
I think so.
I think they're in their timeline, but obviously it raises question now if it is, say, an alternate timeline that Zack is in and that fate is altered. But this is also why. Let me just say this is why I don't think there is an alternate timeline, or an alternate world or dimension or whatever. I think it's one timeline, but it's all interconnected. Like if you obviously defeat Fate in the future, Fate isn't there to stop what's going to happen in the past. I'm also kind of seeing it like through God of War as well, if you remember that, where you defeat the Sisters of Fate.
God of War 2. Yeah.
Yeah, like they can control the past as well as the future. Like, it's just this big
It's a-
thread
yeah.
that's all connected. So if you change something, if like you defeat Fate here or you change Fate here, the past is going to change as well.
you
So I think that's actually what happened.
So you think they're going to
I
get
think-
back in essentially Final Fantasy Part 2, Remake Part 2? You think Zack's going to be there?
Yes, in all honesty, at this point, I think Zack is actually the leader of Avalanche. At this point,
So
That
we're
would
going
make
to.
me so happy.
You have no idea how. Like, I don't know. I don't know what I would feel if they're like, "Oh, Zack's the leader of Avalanche now. By the way, you can't have him in your party."
yeah, there's a
gonna
lot of little hints in the game that why the Whisperers are doing things that they're doing. There's a big moment in when you encounter Hojo where he gets taken away by the Whisperers. And why is he being taken away by the Whisperers? It's because he's the one who tells Cloud that he was never a soldier. Like, he's not who he thinks he is. Like his memories are jacked up. The Whisperers took Hojo away at that moment in Remake because he was about to tell him, and he's not supposed to tell him until much later in the storyline. So, like, to me, it's like Aerith was trying to change things by doing little things, and it wasn't working. So that's towards the end of the game where she was like, okay, now I have to tell you what's going on. And that's when she does. There's also a lot of moments where, like, when Marlene touches Aerith, she sees something.
Yeah, we still don't
and
know.
Aerith tells her to keep quiet. We don't know what Marlene sees. You know, Red 13 doesn't know who the Whisperers are until Aerith touches him. All of a sudden, he has knowledge of them, which tells me she already knew. She knows everything. So, it's weird to me, but to me, I feel like this first episode of Remake was kind of a red herring in a way, where they're like, we're telling you the story, but then here at the end, we're like, you may know the story, but really, we're changing the whole goddamn thing.
Yeah. Which I think is the perfect way to go about this, because, like, I don't know if anybody... I know there's going to be a lot of pushback for this, because there's going to be a lot of people who do, but I don't really necessarily think that we need a retelling of Final Fantasy VII. The game is everywhere, you can play the game everywhere, and the gameplay isn't broken. Visually, it looks old, but nothing else has aged bad. Like, it's a turn-based game, it still looks good. Even though it doesn't look realistic, it still looks really, really good and for what it's supposed to be. So, like, if you want that story, there it is. Go and play it. This one is different. This is a new game. This is... We're going to be messing... Or not messing things up. That makes it sound like we're doing it for the work. But we're going to be having fun with it. We're going to change it.
I agree. I really want these to be two standing things. You know, I've seen a lot of expectations that they just want a pretty version of what they knew. And I mean, that's fine. You can get that with a lot of games, you know, like Shadow of the Colossus and things like that. But at the same time, what really are you getting just by seeing it in prettier form? Just another chance to replay it.
Well, I think it's experiencing those moments in a different perspective, I guess you can say.
Well, sure, but
7 has a lot of...
Yeah. I also think that with this new approach, it's going to be making those scenes, like those very important moments, feel new again. And I think that's why this remake is so important. Like, I missed everything about the first game I say first game every single time. I missed the original game when it came out by like a decade. So I didn't get that fresh experience. I've actually never finished it. I'm just that kind of a piece of shit. But I don't hate what's going on right now with the remake, because it's giving me that opportunity to see what other people were able to see and experience.
Have fun.
And I think that's something special. Like, if they can basically take what they did, rehash it in a way that's different enough
I like it,
to
rehash.
emulate that level of intimacy that you get from the narrative. I think that makes this project very important. That's why I'm all behind it.
Yeah, not only that, but it also, like, I was slightly worried that, like, so spoilers, as we were talking about spoilers earlier, I don't get affected by spoilers. I don't get discouraged from watching a thing or playing a thing because I know it's going to happen. However, I feel like if they just did it beat by beat, exactly the same, then there was going to be that, like, well, I don't really want to play this because, like,
Never again.
my friend told me Eric's going to die. My friend told me that we do win. Like, stuff like that. Or I just, by being in gaming at all, I know Eric dies. I know, like, that's a huge moment in gaming. I've seen it multiple times in multiple videos. Like, now we don't know. That may not happen.
That's that.
And I think that's what I was thinking. I love that part. Like the fact that we don't know if it happens, it'll still feel special. If it doesn't happen, that's going to feel different and unique compared to the original game. I'm super excited what they do. There's a part of me. Okay. Whenever I think about the do and don't thing, I always think back to the ending of Dark Knight Rises, because I wanted Batman to die so badly, but at the same time, I didn't want it to, and they gave me both, and I absolutely love that. They gave me both in some form or another, and I absolutely love that. So like, the anticipation of something like this with Remake just has me all giddy. I can't wait. Like I wish that I also at the same time wish that it weren't in 3 parts that were so separated, but at the same time, the anticipation makes the next one just feel that like, gimme! You know, it's not so like, oh, well, I finished it all. Let's like, it's the difference between binging an entire library of a TV show now versus having to watch it all one episode a week.
Yeah.
Back when we were younger.
Yeah, because at that point you're like, all right, what do you think is gonna happen in the next episode? It's gonna be nuts, right? And then you speculate and you have fun with it. But I agree. Like I want to know what happens now. Again.
Now.
It's my game and I need it now.
To me, as somebody who did play the original, finished it multiple times, my concern with going forward now is what was that?
That it's gonna make the original feel less than, like not less than, but like forgotten. Like this isn't what happened.
Won't say forgotten. I think depending on what they do, they're obviously gonna divide the fan base, I believe. But to me, what's worrisome, I guess you can say, is Nomura. Is that how you pronounce his name?
Yeah, Tetsuya Nomura.
Yeah, he tends to make things overly complicated and convoluted, as you know with Kingdom Hearts. And I can already see by the ending of this game how convoluted things are getting. Obviously, there's so many answers we don't have, which hopefully we'll get in the future. But I fear that he's going to start doing things that will start to piss people off. Much in the way that they did with the Advent Children. And I hate to keep going back to it because I personally believe the story in Advent Children was not good at all.
I honestly agree. I was kind of hoping that this game was going to make that movie make more sense, if we're being honest.
Yeah, because it's incredibly confusing and a very convoluted movie, story-wise. And I fear that going forward, he might do the same thing with 7, and I think he's going to start putting a lot of themes and ideological moments in it that are just going to confuse people. Because if you're going into Final Fantasy VII Remake for the first time, never playing the original, you probably got to this ending and you're like, who the fuck is this dude with the Buster Sword with black hair? Who the fuck is Sephiroth? You don't know who the hell he is.
Yeah.
You know, you just see him in these random flashes in moments. So you're leaving the game insanely confused. Which in a way is okay, I would say, because you're going to get answers later. And it's obviously okay for us, for me or you who've read the spoilers, even Tim who knows most of the story as well. You know, we know these characters. I mean, if you don't know who Sephiroth is, just being a gamer, and like I don't even care if you like Final Fantasy, you know the character of Sephiroth. He's talked about everywhere.
Yeah.
So you know the character, but obviously you may not know his story. So to me, I just fear that it's going to get too complicated by him going in and changing so much of the story. That's what I fear is going to happen.
I do have that fear.
And you know that's just characters we know of so far. Like, what's gonna happen? Like, if he decides that Kate Sith is not even gonna be a playable character,
Right.
you know, he's gonna be in the game, but he's just not gonna be playable. Like, we thought, you know, we'll have a 4-man party once everybody's united. The game only allows you to have 3 people. Like, is that what it's gonna be going forward? Like, so am I not gonna be able to play as Vincent every goddamn time I want to anymore? Like, is Vincent even going to be in the game now? Like, his story is linked to a specific character from Crisis Core. And I'm talking about
They
Genesis
also talked
as
about
well.
how the optional characters are going to be in there. Like, it's going to be story beats. Like, they're going to be part of the game. There's no option.
Like,
Well,
you
that's
can't miss Yuffie now, like I did the first time I played Final Fantasy VII. So
And you just gotta wonder now, like, what's gonna change with their story as well, because now timeline is different. You know, is Vincent gonna be found somewhere else instead of a coffin in the middle of a mansion? You know,
Maybe he's
is
found in a
Yuffie
coffin.
gonna be like a villain throughout the whole game? How is the Turk redemption arc gonna play out now?
I'm excited about this stuff.
Yeah, essentially they're just telling you, especially at the end of this game, like, to the people who know the story, you're like, you're not gonna get the same story. That's literally what he's telling you at the end.
So Sephiroth absorbs all the whispers. Is that like, whenever I first saw that, I just thought that was the whispers going in. Like, I didn't think that was like a permanent thing. Like, I thought that was like, okay, well, that's just what's happening in this fight. So you think the whispers are now gone? Like, there's no, Fate no longer has control over what happens.
Maybe, or now Sephiroth controls his fate by absorbing them. I honestly have no idea what it could mean, because that's what it just seemed like to me. It looked like they went inside him.
Yeah.
But then what happened when you beat him? What happened there?
You go to the edge of creation.
I mean, like, he ate all the whispers, and then you beat him. So what does that mean for the whispers? Like, are they part of Sephiroth now, or is Sephiroth image or whatever beaten, or
No idea.
is he going to be Super Saiyan Sephiroth now, or?
That's the thing. I think Sephiroth still knows his own future. He knows everything, just like Aerith does, in my opinion, at least. That's how I feel about it. So he's probably going to try to alter things as well.
Let's go.
There could be a lot of truth to that. I also like the idea of him, like, knowing part of the truth and then, like, having his own delusions. And I only think about the delusional part when I think about the part where he's in the lower level of the labs and he's going to the library and talking about things. Because that whole scene in the original, well, I mean, ultimately Crisis Core 2, but in the original, like, he just seems super, like, almost chaotic and out of sorts. Like, he's no longer in touch with reality. And,
He's pretty much lost his goddamn mind.
yeah, and I think I like that idea of him, like, knowing what's happening, but he's not able to properly interpret it because he's going insane. So, like, he's just gonna be doing stuff, and it's not necessarily, like, what he intended. So, like, even though it might be what he wants to do, and it might be the things that, you know, like with Meteor coming down and shit, it might be what he wants, but it won't happen the same way, or it, like, won't happen at all just because he wants something else. Or he ends up wanting something else because of delusion.
And that's also an interesting idea, is like, this Sephiroth is very calm. He's not mentally broken like he was going into the later parts of the original 7.
He feels
Also true.
He feels like Advent Children's Sephiroth.
He's very calm. But even then, Advent Children's Sephiroth was pretty much driven by revenge. He just wanted to kill Cloud.
I get it.
I get it. So do I. I want to kill
I
him.
mean, he's not Zack, I get it.
So, in a way, you also have to wonder, like, this Sephiroth, if he is from the future or an alternate timeline, which point of that timeline is it? Like, could this even be Crisis Core Sephiroth instead? The before anything there happened. I don't know. All I know is that he obviously knows things that are going to happen in the future. Just from the sheer moment. Like, I realized it right away when I started to replay the game, and it was that scene where he touched Aerith and said, "You can't save anybody." That to me straight up told me exactly that he knew the future. And I think he's trying to lead them on as well to destroy fate, because he also knows his fate. If it happens.
Super excited. One thing I want to talk to you about, Garri, this whole thing. After you beat the first game, actually even after you beat it the second time, you're like, I hate the game. I hate the ending even more now. I want to talk about this.
Okay.
Tell me your hatred. Show me your rage. What's that?
You know, I think it comes to the point where I understand when you're doing a remake, things are going to change. Story-wise, you're going to add stuff, you might remove stuff, you might change a lot of things, like certain character paths and stuff. I'm okay in a way of where the story is going. But I feel like there are moments in an original game's story, especially if it's a really good story, that have to remain. To me, for example, Zack's death in Crisis Core is something that should have remained. Because it not only was a very emotional moment, not just for us as the players watching it, it obviously was very emotional for Aerith, who at this point I don't think she even knew that Zack was dead in Final Fantasy VII. But I think
But she knows everything else.
in Remake.
I don't know about that.
Remake.
She has to know.
The only
Well,
way.
even if she has to know Zack is dead.
Yeah, she
right?
knows. I think as soon as it starts raining.
What if she's gonna sacrifice Cloud to get
But
Zack back?
but the
I'm okay
thing
with
is, once you save Zack, Cloud's entire backstory and who he is pointless. Like, shouldn't it then stab him out of the idea that he thinks he's a soldier?
But there's
I
that
think it
point
should.
in the original game where that happens too, right? Where he gets out of the delusion of thinking he's Zack.
When Hojo tells him who he really is and convinces him, yes.
Yeah.
But if Zack is alive, then Cloud's entire story shouldn't even begin the way it does. Because it
That's
only
why I think there are
happens that way because Zack is dead.
That's why I think it's two timelines. And I say that it's like my first thought I had was you remember Tales of Eternia, where you have the two planets and you can look up and see them.
Yes.
It's like that. I have this imagery like that where they're like really right next to each other, and at that moment, Zack and Aerith were able to sense each other. It's in the same place but at different times. And so, like, as far as Cloud is concerned, in his line on his planet that's next to this one, on that planet Zack is dead, but on this other one Zack is alive. And so I also think at that moment that's when Aerith wants to get to Zack again, one way or another.
Okay, so you're then seeing it as a multiverse in a way.
Yes.
Okay. See, and in that way it will make sense. I was seeing it as one timeline, and shit is being changed in the timeline, so it has to affect things in the past, present, and future as well. That's how I was seeing it. I mean, if Sephiroth came from an alternate timeline, you know, why would he come from an alternate timeline? Like, what was his story in this alternate timeline? You know,
Well,
that he would come here and try to change it.
Like, the other idea is that he died in the other one, so like he's like, man, I'm not going back to that one. That one sucked.
So yeah, like, it's moments like that that I feel should remain because they're very impactful. Obviously, the other big one is Aerith and what happens to her.
I think it's going to happen still, but differently.
I think it should happen. I think Aerith, by messing with fate, is going to make things worse going forward. I think things are actually going to get a lot worse than what they were. And I think she's going to realize in order to set course, she's pretty much going to sacrifice herself.
Yep. And I was just gonna say that to the sound, the tune of Sephiroth. Sacrifice.
Oh my god.
Okay,
Sacrifice.
let me pitch a new thing to you guys.
Ooh, a picture. Tell me more.
So, I'm assuming the core of Garri's concern is that the emotion is going to be lost because Cloud no longer has Zack's death on his conscience. If Aerith survives, Aerith's death no longer means anything, or like that no longer affects Cloud again. Like all of the emotion gets taken out of the story. What if Zack is back? And in order to keep Zack there, like, what if, like, these changes she's making have glitches, let's say? Where, like, Zack can't survive here. He's slowly dying or something like that. All the changes that she's making, these people are slowly dying. And to fix it, she has to sacrifice herself. And now you have to see Zack see Aerith die.
What will you do with it?
Hold on. You're being mean now.
Well, I'm just trying, like, 'cause
Stop.
if I'm Nomura, and I was involved in Final Fantasy VII, I wrote and made Crisis Core, I wrote and made Advent Children, and everything, you realize that the reason Final Fantasy VII is such a huge cultural stamp in gaming is because of Aerith's death, and because of Zack's death and all these different things. You're gonna be like, okay, well, we can't do that again because people have seen that. Like, how do you make somebody dying again feel as emotional as the first time? You either change who dies or you change who experiences her death, or their death, I guess I should say.
Yeah, and that's the part I'm most excited about. Just the idea that I know what's happening, but it's not, what's happening? Question mark? The unknown is what makes it appealing to me. I can almost say with certainty that these things are going to happen. But the anticipation of if and if not is what is going to make it special again.
Yes.
I want this. Like, even if it is the same thing, no matter what, from beginning to end, the potential what if is what's going to make it special again.
Also, Rufus Shinra sits on the throne like Noctis.
You like that?
Well, that was Nomura also. So.
Is Rufus Shinra your favorite person?
No. Zack is. But
he's such a dickhead. I hate him.
So let me ask you guys this then. They said that Final Fantasy VII Remake is part of the Final Fantasy VII completion, or whatever the hell they called it back when Advent Children was coming out. What if Final Fantasy VII Remake is actually the alternate timeline from the original Final Fantasy VII? We're playing the alternate universe, I guess you can say.
That'd be hot. So, like, we're gonna at the end of the first one, or this first remake game, was where those two timelines touched.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Garri, run with this. Patent it. Patent
Because
it.
If you're gonna change everything, all of a sudden that completion story, the arc of Final Fantasy VII, I don't remember what they called it. They called it something. It's completely off balance now, because if you're gonna change the way things went, all of a sudden Crisis Core is not canon anymore. Advent Children isn't canon anymore. Dirge of Cerberus isn't canon anymore.
Which is
It's
fine, because
not really
wasn't that great.
It's not really a completed arc then anymore, because you broke everything up.
so
Just a thought.
I think what's cool about that too is that it freshens up the old content. It's like it keeps it relevant. It makes it relevant again. So you have the original stuff that you can go back and go, oh snap, there's this too, and this, and this, and what are you gonna do with that? So it makes like the old stuff super fun, but then you have the anticipation of what that is gonna be in the new stuff, and yeah, that'd be hot.
it also equates
Garri,
for why they
just
changed
do
all the
this.
voices.
What was that, Mark?
It also like an alternate timeline also equates for why all the voices are different. Like to like subconsciously tell you this is a different character, because like the guy who voiced Cloud and Zack voiced Cloud and Zack in Crisis Core, in Advent Children, and when they showed up in all of the Kingdom Hearts games. But now they're just not using those voice actors.
Does that help you feel better about it?
A little, because I miss Zack's voice.
I respect that.
Cloud, I think, is better.
Yep.
But I miss Zack's voice. Zack's voice is a little bit too, like, nasally from what it originally was. So, the sparkles that come down from the sky at the end.
Mm-hmm.
You see them everywhere, except for whenever you see the group. Like, so right now what we're seeing is apparently Jesse and Biggs are okay.
Yep.
Which I don't.
Garri had thoughts
Jesse,
about
no. They never showed Jesse. They only showed Biggs.
Right.
Biggs
They
is
showed
the only one who's
Jesse?
alive.
No, they don't. They show. I
No,
think they
they
show
only
her
show
glove.
Biggs.
I think on the Night's Ends, her glove and her bandana. So I just assume she's there too.
Oh, maybe, yeah, but they didn't show her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so like obviously in the original one, Biggs is dead. They're all dead. So that's already changing the timeline right there.
Molly.
And yeah, I sorry, what was the question again? I lost my train of thought.
When you see the group of them at the end, there's no sparkles coming down from the sky. So are they not in the same time?
What now?
You know, I actually had a theory about that. I believe they only affected fate in Midgar. I think the rest of the world is still bound by fate. That's my theory, at least. That's why you didn't see it when they were outside. You only saw it in Midgar, because the Whisperers were all at Midgar, right?
Well,
That's what we saw, and that's
they
essentially the Arbiter that they defeated.
right. But I assumed that was in so
We will.
in terms of Kingdom Hearts, I assumed whenever they went and fought the Arbiter, they basically went into the darkness. Like, they weren't really in a timeline. They were just like visually representing a timeline, but like they weren't where they walked into the darkness. They walked into fate, I guess I should say. But you never see them come back out.
Mm-hmm.
So like I'm worried that what happened was they changed the fate where they left when they walked in. Like they walked into that timeline, or walked into the light that Aerith made. They walked into that, and they affected Midgard that they left, and they're not back there yet.
Maybe.
And the Zack and Cloud that you see walking back to Midgar when they walk by everybody is Zack and Cloud walking to the Midgar that they left.
Almost there, Cloud.
Oh,
We're almost there.
that's interesting.
Because the
So you're
spark-
saying that they cross timelines then, basically?
Yes, I think they changed the timeline where the Midgar they left. Because then that giant explosion happens, and you see Zack like get thrown back, and he looks up, and then Midgar gets made in front of him. Like he either time traveled or
I miss
Like-
it.
something changed.
Steel sky.
So they fixed their timeline, but they ruined.
Where they're at. They're no longer in their time.
So they went to Zack's world, where Zack is technically supposed to be dead.
Right.
So then the story would play out exactly the same way.
Right.
Oh, maybe.
Also,
That's actually a pretty cool theory, to be
I
honest.
almost died. Like I almost lost it whenever she said the steel sky, I miss it. Because the end of it's almost the exact same ending as Crisis Core, where Zack says that girl, she says the sky scares her. And it's literally right after you see Zack pass them, and you see him like smile, because I think he feels them. But this comes back to...
I want to feel your pain.
This comes all the way back to my original question, is nothing I've seen at the end of this game confused me. It's the intricacies that confused me. And whenever I see people online saying that the ending is confusing, I don't understand the ending, I don't know what they are confused about, because a lot of people I see talking about this never played Crisis Core, never saw Advent Children. Which
will definitely confuse them if they don't know the story of Final Fantasy VII. Like I said, like, who the hell is that to them, you know?
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That's how I would see it, at least. Like, if I never played anything Final Fantasy VII related, and all of a sudden I see this other guy with the Buster Sword, who the hell is he? Like, and again, who the hell is Sephiroth?
Yeah. Because even if you watched Advent Children, you see Zack, but you still don't know who Zack is. Like, he's just leaning up against the doorway at the church, and then like you have like one or two cutscenes with him. But
like, unless you played 7, you wouldn't know who Zack is at all.
Yeah.
Until obviously Crisis Core came out.
So I wonder, what if Part 2 is half the game you're playing as Cloud and his group that just left, walking through the desert and like continuing on with their story, either trying to get back to the timeline, or if they are in the timeline, just trying to get back or whatever. And then the other half is Zack. You play as Zack going from Crisis Core to the current, essentially current timeline, where you, if you were right, he becomes the head of Avalanche. You see him do that, you get to play like 2 timelines almost.
Kind of in a way what they did with 8.
Yes.
I'll be okay with that. In all honesty, I know you would definitely be okay with it. You want more
as much Zack as you could possibly.
Sounds more like a fan theory to me than anything.
As much Zack
and
as
that's
humanly
okay.
possible.
But I actually would be okay with that. So yeah, I think what's really going to determine which timeline we're in with the Part 2, I think the first big indication is if we see the giant snake impaled on the stick as you leave Midgard, because that literally is the first moment in Final Fantasy VII where they kind of really talk about Sephiroth and like just how powerful he is. I think that's really going to determine, like, if we see that, then we know things are still kind of playing out the same way.
Yeah.
But what if we have to fight the serpent?
And we're the ones who kill it?
Yeah.
Don't do a Rise of the Skywalker right now, man. Nobody wants that.
Why not?
Because that's just terrible.
I haven't seen it.
My next question, I guess, would be then, because like I can't shake that feeling that everyone who left, like the group that you see, Red, Barrett, Tifa, Cloud, and Aerith, are all no longer part of the Midgard that Zack's walking back to. Which means that Zack would walk back and it wouldn't be an Aerith. There wouldn't be, like, Cloud wouldn't have another Cloud to walk into. There's not like 2 Clouds now.
Yeah, but you also see him walking back with Cloud. So what, does Cloud just vanish from his body as he's carrying him?
I'm not sure. This is kind of stuff that like these are the things that confuse me. It's like I need to know if I'm overthinking it or underthinking it.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's why I was more on the fence, because there's a lot of stuff that hint that, you know, multiple Earths, different things like that. But it's moments like that where they don't make sense to a point where it won't really make sense in an alternate world. That's why I think it's one timeline where things are being changed because fate is destroyed now. Like the way I see it is like Zack was always by fate destined to die because that would lead to Cloud becoming who he is, and then it would lead to him encountering Sephiroth again, to Sephiroth killing Aerith, and then Cloud pretty much losing his shit to go get revenge on that. It's all one destiny. And now that fate is gone, fate is no longer there to stop Zack from being killed. Thus he survives. That's why I believe we saw the past.
Nice.
Because if Aerith is who she is, not only can she, in my opinion, see the future, she can probably also see the past as well. So that moment when we see Zack walking and Aerith walking, and then she kind of turns, I think it's that moment where a part of her memory just kind of snapped in that wasn't there before because they changed the timeline. Like, it just popped into her head, a memory. That, oh, Zack is alive because I can see the future and the past. But who is Zack now?
Yeah, exactly.
And where is he?
I guess my other question is, in the original Final Fantasy, how did Sephiroth come back? Was he did he just survive the fall from Cloud in
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
He was never killed.
That's what I assumed.
At least that's how I remember it. I could be wrong though, because it has been a while since I played it.
I'm almost positive that's how it was too, because it was just like, oh, how are you still alive? It's like, God, this is just me. I've never died. But I was also confused because like they seemed like they were trying to make it like a supernatural thing in this one, where he was coming back through the means of those.
Yeah, that's why I don't think the
even know what
Sephiroth
they're
we have here. I think we essentially had two Sephiroths. I think we had the one that appeared at Shinra Tower, who the mayor saw, which was the real Sephiroth from the timeline of the real Final Fantasy VII. Because we remember, not the mayor, the little fat guy. I don't remember.
Mustard Boy.
Yeah, because he sees Sephiroth and he tells them that he sees him.
Yeah.
But how would he see him if technically Sephiroth is an illusion to Cloud and all of them? So I think that's the storyline there played out exactly like it did in the original 7, because in the original 7 we don't see Sephiroth at all. We only know that he appeared at the top of Shinra Tower, he killed the president of Shinra Corporation, and he took Genova. That's all we know. We never see it happen. But here we do. But we don't see this imaginary Sephiroth take Genova himself. And we don't see him kill
Barrett.
Mm-hmm. Well, not Barrett. What's his name?
Oh,
Shinra.
Shinra.
The president. Like, we see him kill the president of Shinra, but then I believe it's at that moment where we see a different Sephiroth. Like, because we know Genova was that one of the guys with the numbers on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Right? And you fight that illusion. So I think it's at that point, like, Sephiroth is there, but there's also an illusion that they're seeing at the same time that makes them see things differently.
I'm wondering
than what's really happening.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if those cloaked beings that you see are essentially copies, Sephiroth copies from Crisis Core, because like that was one thing that always messed with me, is why Angeal and Genesis had copies but Sephiroth never had copies. And then like we kind of get that. I assume that's what we're supposed to believe Kadaj and his gang are Sephiroth copies.
Mhm.
But you never get to see any of them. I'm wondering if this is like, because they're all numbered. I wonder if that's what this is, and Sephiroth can just move between.
It could
them.
very well be. It could be a thing where it's kind of like what they did with Fear. If I don't know if you ever played Fear, First Encounter or Assault Recon.
Mm-hmm.
If you played that game, the expansion to the first game, we find out that because the enemies in that game are being mind controlled by the main villain, which is that weird cannibal guy. In the expansion pack, we find out that he is able to transfer his consciousness to all of them because they are essentially a clone of him. And I'm seeing it maybe here the same thing. Like, if all these guys were clones of Sephiroth, then why wouldn't he be able to essentially transfer his consciousness to all of them?
Right.
Or, in a way, take control of them?
Right. And then whenever he's like using their body as a vessel, you see that person as Sephiroth, and then he leaves, and like that's why at the top of the tower it's no longer Sephiroth; it's a numbered guy jumping off the side with Sephiroth.
He's essentially controlling them to get what he wants, and maybe that's how he's avoiding fate as well.
Yeah, because
from getting in his way, from stopping him from doing things.
Hey, we need the next game, please.
Please, right now.
I mean, there was a rumor that it's coming out in 2023, and I was like, "There's absolutely no way."
That's
like, I'm
too
sorry,
far.
2023. That's way too far.
Yeah,
That's out of control.
like
What I'm super excited for though is, I obviously is going to be on the PS5. Maybe it's going to be cross-gen with the PS4 as well. I can't wait to see the open world of Part 2. I hope that there's going to be an open world to explore.
that would be this is whenever the game opens up originally as well, so it would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
And like they gave you that fast travel system in this one at the very, very end once. So like
It's like, oh, thanks for that fast travel that I'm only going to use for
these 3 quests.
2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm excited for the next one. And depending on if it is 2023, I would assume that it's just going to be a PS5 game. But if it is 2021 or even early 2022,
I honestly think it's going to come out at the end of next year. I really do.
Yeah, I really hope so. And if that's the case, I wouldn't be surprised that when they do a reveal of PlayStation 5, that you get maybe a teaser of Part 2.
Yeah, because Nomura himself said that he wants to get Part 2 out as soon as possible.
Yeah.
And if he's saying he wants to get it out as soon as possible, I believe it's a lot further along than we think it is, because mechanically everything is already in place.
Yeah.
You know, the combat system's in place, the character models, all that is in place. You're essentially just going in and programming, you know, the new world and all that. You almost don't even have to worry about the combat system anymore because you already have it.
Right.
So that's a lot of gameplay development time that you don't have to worry about.
Assassin's Creed pulled 3 games out in 3 years because of that. So.
Exactly. So it's just going to be about creating the world and obviously the story and animations and all that. I'm not saying it's easy by any means. It's still going to take time, but I believe Part 2 was in development. I would say Part 2 was probably in development 2 years before this one came out. I think they started working on Part 2 2 years before this one came out.
That makes sense.
Because I believe a lot of stuff was already kind of done with this one, and all that was left was, you know, putting on finishing touches and getting the animations done, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, like once you have all the acting done, you can even start like storyboarding and acting like immediately after. Like they might have even filmed everything already, like in one go almost. But yeah, I'm excited about the next one, and that pretty much brings us down to like we're running credits now. This is it. This is the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake.
This is it. This is how it ends.
This is how it ends. Exactly. And
I just want more Red 13, man. Give me that boy.
Oh man,
I need him so much.
I know we've talked about it already, Gary, but the banter that Barrett and Red 13 have is just glorious.
Oh, it's so glorious. That moment when they're in that truck,
it's like, maybe
and
not.
Barrett is like, "Can this thing go any faster?" And Red 13 is like, "If we didn't have 300 extra pounds on here." So good. What'd you say?
I love Barrett in this game so much.
So good. Yeah, they did a good job with Barrett in this one for sure. Because like after Midgar, Barrett kind of just takes a back seat to the rest of the story in 7. Like the whole Avalanche thing just isn't important anymore.
Yeah.
And in a way,
Makes me sad.
Tifa kind of takes a back seat too up until you go back to Niflheim as well. So yeah,
Hopefully that's
unfortunate.
Yeah, hopefully that doesn't happen now in these versions.
Yeah, that's also one of the things I'm worried about. Like once you start introducing Vincent and Kate Sith and what's her name?
Yuffie.
Yeah, Yuffie. Then obviously their stories kind of become pretty integral as well. So keeping focus on Barrett and Tifa is going to be, in my opinion, the challenge. Like making them, especially Barrett, like what is Barrett's purpose at this point? Like he's not fighting Shenron now. You know, does he really need to kill Sephiroth? Like, well, what's the benefit for him when it comes to Sephiroth?
I think it's just if you don't kill Sephiroth, everything will die. Like,
But will it
It-
now?
well-
Things are different now. Maybe Sephiroth just wants to bake cookies and shit.
that's
You know he doesn't.
I don't know.
No cookie chef makes that face.
You haven't been watching One Piece, have you? Okay.
No, I haven't. For good reason. It's a sanity thing.
But that brings us to the end. This is it for this series, at least. We have another series lined up, and also Tim and Gary you guys are still doing, what is it? Sekiro Wars? That's right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're due for another one. You have to come with us.
I do have to come with you guys.
Hot phrasing.
Hot phrasing.
Hot phrasing, exactly.
Hot phrasing.
I do have to come with you guys on the next one, just because I definitely did not on the last one. So
Yeah, you missed the voice of God. It was amazing.
I'm hearing it now, aren't I?
Tim's
Yes.
voice was amazing, man. Couldn't help
Yeah,
it.
lies and slander.
Who's lying to you?
You?
Are you calling God a liar?
Well done. Oh, you bastard.
You bastard coded bastard with bastard feeling. Technically, that's true. If he's God, but yeah,
I get it.
thank you guys for hanging with us and watching all. What episode is this? 7, 6, 7?
It'll be awesome if it's 7.
It would be
you guys
awesome
failed.
if I'm pretty sure it's 6. Though. It would have been awesome.
Let's
if it
do
was
5 minutes on another one. Be like, "How we got to 7?" Click.
this
Nope,
is the
just
real
skip
one.
6 and just turn it into episode 7. 6 got lost in the shuffle.
We'll call it 7 remake.
Oh, 6 remake. Now it's 7. Hashtag. But yeah, thank you guys for coming along with us. And then, Gary, where can
I
they
think we're
find you?
forgetting something, Mark.
What are we forgetting?
Scores.
Oh, we are forgetting something. Oh, okay.
Of course.
Well, we'll start with Tim, since Tim reviewed the game for PSU. What's the
I
score?
give it a Zach out of 10.
A Zach out of 10. Oh, see.
That's a 0 because it starts with a Z. I knew it.
What are you saying?
You know exactly what I'm saying.
No, I gave it a 9 in my original score. There was a period of time on my second playthrough where I thought maybe this is an 8.5, but then I started playing hard mode, and I really
and now it's a 2 out of 5.
I really love how
Complex.
okay.
It can.
I love how great the combat feels when everything is working. It just feels so good. And it's a similar feeling I got when I was playing Final Fantasy 13. Because the combat in that game is super intricate, but there's no part of the game that really tests you to use it properly until like the last 2 fights of like a bunch of side stuff. But with Final Fantasy VII Remake, you get the entire game to test out the combat, and it's just if you really want to dig deep into it, it's just delicious. I remember I was talking to Garri about this. I was getting my ass decimated in the first chapter or two. And
by a side quest monster.
Shut up!
It was great.
Shut up! Garri helped me with my materia, and it became delicious.
I love the materia system, and I know it's pretty much the same exact system that you have from Final Fantasy VII. Tweaked, obviously, a little bit, but like, I really, the only thing that I miss from, like, the only thing that I would add to the materia system would be fusion materia, where like, you don't have to, essentially, like, if it could go up to like 5 stars instead of just 3 stars, and like you put 2 fires together and you get, like, I know what is it? It's fire,
Fira,
ice,
and then
and
Firaga.
Oh
Yeah,
Firaga.
and like if you could like combine them to get all of that stuff, that would be. That's what I loved about Crisis Core, is you could do that. The materia. I don't even know what it's called. The fusion. I think it's just called fusion.
I think that'll be in part 2. I think
so.
they'll definitely add stuff to the materia system.
Yeah, because I miss that. That's the only in terms of mechanics, gameplay mechanics. That's the only thing that I would knock against it. Is I love the materia system so much that I wish there was more and deeper versions of it. But at the same time, it's so hard to look at this game and be like, oh, these are its downfalls, because if in the back of your head you're just going, well, that all is going to, like, we're going to get more materia and deeper materia. The one question I do have is, do you think our level, our equipment, and our experience are going to transfer to part 2?
I don't even want to talk about this because I've had some bad situations with previous games, and I know I had a friend of mine from Fargo who was like, I know it's a different franchise, but like he played Dot Hack, not Quarantine, the first of those 4 Dot Hack games. He got to level
Infection.
99. Infection, thank you. He got to level 99 in Infection, so when the next one came out, it cut his level down to 30. He was so upset.
I'm upset for him.
And I think that's part of the reason why 50 was put in as the level cap.
Because you're just going to start at level 50, probably.
Or wherever you were. So, like, if you spend all that time doing all that extra stuff, you're not going to be, like, level 255, 69.
Yeah. Like,
420.
That is a good idea. That would be a good, like, I don't really necessarily care about the level as much as I care about the equipment and the materia. Like, I want my weapon levels to stay where they're at with the perks that I have on them. I don't want to have to do all that over again. So I'm hoping that it all just carries forward. But
you make a good point there.
I don't think it will.
I don't think it will either, just because of
I think you'll just be too overpowered going into the game if you got to keep everything. Like, I have the material or the accessory that lets me have a limit break at the start of every fight. Do I really want that at the start of Remake 2?
Yeah, you can start on hard mode.
Oh, I have to unlock hard mode, remember?
Oh my god, that'd be amazing, just starting on hard mode.
I honestly think they'll start you at maybe level 30 or 35. Because realistically, that's kind of the level you can finish the game at.
Ew, really? The original game?
No, what the hell are you talking about? The original game, this one.
Oh, I was gonna say, like, what?
The original game? Are you out of your mind?
You said finish the game, and I was thinking, like, my first thought was, what? The first one? No, the original one.
Guy.
JK.
Yes,
LOL.
this one.
Okay.
So I think they'll start you there. I think they'll let you keep some stuff. I think you'll keep like Ifrit and Shiva, Leviathan materia. Probably not Bahamut because you have to get
Bull
Bahamut.
honky. I want it.
I know you
Bahamut
do.
is amazing, dude.
I think they'll let you keep. I think materia that makes sense for you to keep, like fire, thunder, ice. You know, a lot of the stuff that you probably would think you'd start a game with. You know,
Yeah.
like heal, revive, that stuff. I don't think you're gonna get to keep magnify. I don't think you'll get to keep element, materia.
But
Steel,
that wouldn't make
probably
any sense
not.
either, just because that stuff wasn't taken away from you in the original.
I hate you so much right now.
I'm just saying.
The original was one full game. Why would they take it away from you?
Exactly. That's what I mean. Like, this is supposed to be like a whole thing. I don't think they would take it away just because of that.
So what
Like,
you're
if
saying
this were
is
its
you
own
want to go
franchise-
into Remake Part 2 with enemies starting at level 60.
Sure.
So
Give
what,
it to
like,
me.
by end game, Sephiroth is level 999 and that's the level you are?
I mean, that would make sense.
Okay, so
The
if
same
I
level
never...
as Sephiroth.
Okay, so what if I don't play Part 1 and I go straight into Part 2?
That's your fault.
Then they just start you
I
there.
get handicapped with nothing?
Then they just start you there.
I'm already
With
on
some, like,
extreme mode? Is that what you're saying?
default. They start
Extreme
with some
mode.
default stuff.
He's like, you know, level 1, have fun fighting this level 60 deer.
Here, let me rephrase that. They start you with default stuff.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Because like you said, even dot hack hinders you to a point. It's still let you keep stuff, but I don't think this one will.
I'm gonna stand by what I said. Let's bet, Gary. I'm gonna lose because I'm not a betting person. Let's bet.
I hope to.
Okay, let's bet.
Okay.
I'm saying though it should keep maybe 30% of the stuff you got in this game.
I say that they'll let you just keep it.
Okay. When you're wrong, what do I get? Oh, I know. There's a little golden sun in your future.
You mean? Oh, there's another one in my future?
Oh, in my future, I should say. So.
Oh, son of a bitch. Okay. Well, I just want to say we didn't shake, so I'm good.
Oh,
We
now
have a
it's
bunch of
shaking
witnesses now, though.
What witnesses?
The people who watch this video.
Well, they didn't see anything.
That's true. All right.
thing. They'll just know that you're a lying, filthy ass.
Woo! Fighting
Ooh,
words.
filthy.
Well,
Ooh, filthy.
that brings
If I
us
had
to
my
the end
way,
of the
I'd
video.
sell you right now.
You would sell me. Oh, good. And I'm the jerk.
So, Gary, where can they find you at?
They can find me on Twitter at Gaglalush. That's GAGLAUSH. And actually, you can find me on anything with that name.
Instagram,
So,
he's on there. Usually has kitty pictures.
kitty pictures, kitty and doggos.
Yeah,
My
and
my
then
baby Kai.
and then weed pictures.
Okay.
Anime.
And Tim, where can they find you?
Stalking Gary's pages. And then you
my
can
God.
also find me under Timberelli basically anywhere. TIMBERELI.
Perfect.
What about you, Mark? Where can they find you?
Literally, also everywhere at Lost Heroes 13. LOSTHEROES 13. And that will span from PlayStation all the way over to Twitch. You can find us all three of us at PlayStationUniverse.com. You can find a whole bunch of news, especially like today with the Ghost of Tsushima gameplay reveals. But you can find us anywhere on those platforms. Just type in those words, and then you'll find us.
Woo! Found
there. See, look at that. See how
I just
easy
did
it
it.
is?
You see that?
So, just FYI, you guys never did give your scores.
Oh, this is true.
I said Cloud out of 10. I said Zach out of 10.
That's not a score, dude.
If I
Dude, Zach is perfect.
was
Zach
going,
is
Wow,
the
look
best.
at you objectifying men.
Oh, so
I would give it a 9 out of 10. Not for. I don't want to call it perfect because
Oh no,
Yeah.
it's not.
It's not perfect, but at the same time, like, it does everything flawlessly. Everything that it sets out to do, it does it flawlessly. The only reason I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 is because, and this isn't necessarily a negative thing, it's just I'm left wanting more because there is going to be more. So it's hard for me to say, yes, 10 out of 10 whenever it's not complete. So that's the only reason that I would say 9 out of 10. And then I saved Garri for last because we know it's not going to be 9, I don't think.
Thanks.
Oh, 4 out of 10 by Garri.
Like Tim, I found the combat system more refined as I played on hard mode. I fell in love with it because I felt the strategy that went into it was so much more in depth than I did on normal. Like I told Tim, once I got to play with Tifa for the first time, that's the only character I wanted to play with. I didn't care about anybody else, and that led me to a lot of deaths. So on hard mode, I really got to see just how good the combat system is and how strategic it can be. So on that alone, the score jumped tremendously for me. I will still say the helicopter guys need to be nerfed immediately.
Oh, yeah, the ones
Like,
that fly around.
They need to be patched right away. They are way overpowered. They're harder than all the bosses in the game, in my opinion.
They're just annoying, constantly just dicking around while they shoot you and doing stupid shit.
And they do so much damage. But I will give it a score of 8.5 out of 10.
And you hated it.
It's the ending that I'm not a fan of because I don't want it to go into Nomura mindset where it's overcomplicated and it has to deal with pointless alternate dimensions and timelines, because in my opinion, alternate dimensions and alternate timelines are just like time travel, and nobody has ever given me a good story of that. Like they just okay, never mind. Back to the Future was it.
Oh, got him.
Well, Back to the Future had a point, and that's you can't change time.
True.
So I just don't want it.
Report.
God, dude, Minority Report is not a time travel movie, you idiot.
It's time
It's a
manipulation.
fate movie. It's changing fate
It's a time
because fate is a
manipulation.
lie. Oh my god. Anyways, I just don't want that in the story because I think 7 had a good grounded story, and once you start implementing that, it just goes all over the place, and you're just gonna irritate people.
Yeah, I agree. The time travel, anything that deals with time travel breaks my brain, which is ironic because I love Kingdom Hearts and I love Destiny, and both of those deal with, there are time travel-y things in both. And
Do you like being broken? Is that what you're saying?
I guess so. So I hope that it doesn't, if it does do something time travel-y, it doesn't do it in a way, like, I think I'm okay with time travel if there's permanency. So like, oh, the group that left, like if I'm right and they are now in a different Midgar when they leave at the end of the game, there's no going back. This is now the Midgar you live in. Everything's different. You fixed that one. Good job. You did it. You fixed the other one. Now fix this one. Because it's getting back and tying off loose ends that breaks me when it comes to time traveling. And I don't want anything messy. I don't need any messy shit. So
Those are the worst.
oh god. And with that comes the end of the video. We will be back with Secure. Am I saying it right? Is it Sekiro Wars or Sakura Wars?
I call
Which
it
is it,
Sakura
Garri?
Wars,
Or Sakura Wars? Sakura Wars? Okay.
but that's
Is it
because
more like Sakura?
maybe so the way I pronounce it is the way I heard the name in Sailor Moon being pronounced, the main character's name, Serena Sakura. So that's
Sakura.
how I pronounce it. Yeah.
Okay. And from what I understand of Japanese language, which is quite little, all of the syllables basically have the same type of like emphasis. So there's no like if you were to Americanize the name, it would be like Sakura or Sakura. Put emphasis on different.
So it's just Sakura.
You're putting different emphasis on different vowels, but I think it's supposed to be just like what you said, Gary.
Sakura.
Sakura. Yeah.
Well,
Sakura.
we will be back with. Is it episode? I'm assuming it's episode 2, right? The one that I'm going to be involved in. So episode 2 of Sakura.
We're gonna corrupt you.
Hey, I like it. And then the other game that we have lined up, Tim will actually be playing. And
Are you excited, Mark?
I am excited. And
Are you gonna come for that one too, Gary?
I don't know what it is.
I think
Just guess.
Yeah,
I'll give you one guess.
There's no hints. We've given him nothing to go.
I know, that's why
There's like
that's
an
why it's a
infinite number
guess.
of games.
Okay, fine. This
It's
generation.
It's an exclusive
Wow.
from this generation.
That's 2 hints.
An exclusive from this generation. There's plenty of those.
That Tim hasn't played before.
How long ago did it come out?
No, that's 3 hints.
Less than 3 years. 2 years? 2 years.
Yeah, less than 2 years.
It just had I think it just had its first birthday recently.
Huh.
That's 4 hints, dude.
It also is a game that
birthday.
I don't think anybody really thinks about unless they love it.
Or they want to bash it.
Yeah.
And it's a PlayStation exclusive?
Yep.
Yep.
A first party exclusive?
Yep.
I'm drawing a blank now.
It's the main character is played by the vampire guy from Freak Like Me. Or no, what's that show?
Only you would know that.
I was gonna say that's a poll. I was gonna say it's the main character
The guy
played
from
by Force Unleashed.
Force Awakens. Yeah, Force Unleashed. That's another one.
Oh, Days Gone.
Yep.
Yep.
Oh shit.
Yep.
You're gonna go. You're gonna do it. Oh man, there's gonna be a lot of
gonna-
anger here. I'm excited.
I'm gonna do it.
Oh man, Tim, get ready for some downtime, man.
I could go for a chill game.
It is definitely one of those games that it is the opposite, 100% opposite of Final Fantasy VII when it comes to they're both open world and they're both RPG-esque, but Days Gone, it's almost Skyrim when it comes to do what you want, go where you want, and finish whatever storyline you want to finish. But yeah, so Days Gone and Sakura Wars will be the next games that we're doing. I'm assuming the Sakura Wars will be up first, but who knows? Things change. But keep an eye out for those. And thank you all, and thank Tim and Garri for joining me on this fun journey that we started and see no end in sight doing. So we are now officially ReHash. We have a name. We have a cool opening intro. We have we have a page on our YouTube. We're permanently here. This is going to be something we're doing for a while.
Hadouken.
What? Did you say Hadouken?
I did.
That's not even the right franchise.
It can be. We can do a.
That's not even the right console.
Street Fighter is in on PlayStation 5, or 4, you weirdo.
You can't prove that.
Street Fighter 5 is exclusive.
Oh my god.
You want to bet again?
I can't prove you're real either. What if this is the Matrix?
Well, you've never seen me, so how can you believe I'm real?
And with that, I'll say good day to everyone. Thank you for following.